Welcome to the Change Within podcast. My name is Gerard Uselli. We are on episode 32, and let me say, it has been a worldview of perspective regarding change and how people go through it and how they embrace it. This episode right here is a very special one because this is going back to the high school days with this individual.
That's right.
A friend of mine, great to catch up. His name is Anthony Trombetta. Anthony, how are you today?
I am doing fine. I don't know if I can still call you Jerry legally, but I'm doing great. And I want to start by applauding you because, it's tough to stay on something. It's tough if you got the capital and if you've got, this kind of built-in viewer base that a lot of the Instagram celebs or a lot of people have these days. But to stay on something and to hear that it's episode 32 of this, my hat's off to you on this one, Jared, because it's really great to stick with something, and it's great content too. I've enjoyed a lot of the shows, but anyway, enough about you. It's really about me this episode.
Exactly.
I am.
Bring on the narcissism.
That's right. Of course, I am great. I really, really am.
No, that means the world, though. And something that I like to ask all of my guests, especially on the first question, is what was your childhood like growing up?
Well, you were shortly a part of some of my childhood, or at least my teenage years. But I will tell you that my childhood was really great. I always had supportive parents. We were very family centric. We were Italian, but not too Italian. So we did like Sunday sauce, but then we can go watch like WWE or WWF or whatever it was back in our day. So it was we were family centric people. I always had great support in kind of whatever endeavors I did. And I had a lot of them, but it's really important to surround yourself with that if you can have that. So I was fortunate growing up.
And I think that's something that's imperative for a lot of people in Staten Island because it can be a very family-centric type of environment if you allow it to be that way, especially in your upbringing and how you grow up. And I feel like we can speak that to a lot of people that we've grown up around, which ultimately for something like us going to high school together, we're all there for each other at the end of the day. Like no matter what the conflicts are or how people were like getting along with each other, people always stuck up for each other, especially like within our type of community.
Agreed. And family and friends, there's still an aura of or an environment of kind of judgment, even though it might be loving judgment. They still want you to succeed, and therefore they can kind of say, well, why'd you do that? Or are you sure you want to do this? That can still come with it. But it's so important to have, I think, throughout your entire life. And my mom always says it's a small world, it's a smaller island. And that mentality always stuck with me, that you'll never know who knows you or who knows of you, especially in our kind of small circles that we run throughout the island and even, where I work in Manhattan. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. And kind of going a little bit more forward is, tell me about the first time you've ever performed in front of a lot of people and what inspired you to keep doing it.
Yeah. So, I remember performing when I was much younger. Obviously, I wish I was a performer now. I like to still think that I am. I certainly have that mentality in my mind. So it's kind of fitting for where I work in. But I started performing when I was like in 8th, 7th grade. My mom got me like an agent on Staten Island, and by the time I was like a freshman in high school, I was in like one little indie movie, and I was this background thing. I thought it was the best thing. And then time goes on and you realize that, you just either don't want to do it or you just don't have the time for it. And that's a hard industry. And high school in more, I did performing arts there. And that was obviously the highlight of my performing experience in life. Certainly senior year, doing Guys and Dolls, singing, dancing, acting, having the responsibility of being a senior and ushering in a new wave of artists. So it's great. And it's great to look back and see who actually stuck with it and became performers. And also it's also great to see the different trajectories people took throughout, different ways of life. So that's where I started, and it built honestly who I am today. It makes you personable. It makes you more charismatic. So I think performing at a young age, love football, love basketball, but if and when I have kids, they're going into dance when they grow up. They're going into acting classes. They're doing singing classes. Let's get these guys, out there in the world. We gotta get them going.
And to that point, it also brings forth a very promising social dynamic, especially when you're getting kids involved at a young age on something like this. Whether the pursuit is as a hobby or as a career, it gives that child an opportunity to see things in more of a clear view as far as how you can market yourself to the audience that's surrounding you.
Correct. There's no secret that we are a technology-driven society. It's important that when we have the next generation of societies, that we make sure that they are forward-facing people that know how to properly handle a situation in person, and know how to be cordial and know your manners, and just basically just know how to talk to people. It's so important. And I think there are a lot of industries that are still around that still have that. I think, I want to touch on COVID very briefly. I think COVID, obviously, with everybody working from home and being more inside, it only brought that technology faster and faster, and might have, brought it a little quicker than we want it to be. So it's so important to have kind of that one-on-one contact in life, and just talk to people, one-on-one, face-to-face, or Zoom to Zoom.
Zoom to Zoom.
This is one-on-one. This is talking
It
to
essentially
somebody.
is.
It is, yeah, you're going to go out and you're going to do your promoting to it, and Instagram and all that. But that's promoting you, that's promoting your idea. That's promoting your content. These are important. Do these, don't do these. It's much more important.
Could not agree more with that. Now, here's a pretty interesting question, especially with how I've gotten to know you, like growing up and everything, especially how you handle yourself professionally and what you were just talking about. What is kind of like your balancing act in taking yourself seriously versus not doing so?
Yeah, my DNA is still built to not take myself seriously. I don't think I take my own self seriously, but I think I have to put back on my acting and performing hat, and muster up the courage to be taken seriously in a professional standpoint. So I work in a job that's very that requires that professionalism. In a lot of cases, it's hospitality, it's food and beverage, it's a private social club, and you've got to have that chutzpah, that professional top line. And I think I've been able to acquire it over the years. I had a lot of different jobs growing up that built me for it, that put me in kind of the corporate or social levels of things. So it's a hard balance. It's not easy. And I'm glad at the end of the day I can unwind. To my wife, who puts up with both, the professional side and the personal side of me. So it's good to see. It's certainly a hard balance, and I work at it every single day of my life, because I'd much rather be out there on the screen, in the theater. Believe me. But this is where I am.
Guys and dolls too. 10-year reunion.
That's right.
So this is probably the most high school-esque question I could ask for this, especially going back kind of like in a reunion standpoint. So it's very cool to see people meet like their significant others and see how their love prospers over time. What I was curious about, and again, very high school centric type of question, I feel like your wife truly compliments you as a person. How did you two meet?
Good question, and it's high school. That's really the answer. I was a senior in high school and she was a freshman. We knew each other on the loose basis in the fact that we were in performing arts, kept it with each other. We didn't necessarily talk or engage with each other that much unless we were in a show or something like that. She swears that she looked up to me because of the fact that I guess I was a senior, and I was, I carried myself properly. I loved the entire student body. I really loved my high school experience. And I was always an approachable, friendly guy. I still am, I think. But she looked up to me as somebody who she kind of loosely admired in the high school level. Years went on, and colleges went on, and we certainly didn't run into each other for a long time until, believe it or not, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was filming a short film on Staten Island. And we filmed at a bar at the now closed Bootleg Manning's.
Oh,
and So we filmed this short that I wrote at the bar. I directed it, I wrote it, I paid for it. I just wanted to make, I just wanted to create. I had sat on all these ideas for years, and I got this on paper and I wrote it in a night. I wrote this 25-page script, and we found the bar and we shot the scenes there. And then a couple of days later, we went back to the bar. And not knowing Francesca, I mean knowing her, but not having seen her in a long time, I saw that she was standing at the by the pool table, like playing pool with a bunch of friends, and I could not muster up the courage to say hello to her. She is, she's drop dead gorgeous, and I did not know. I haven't seen her in a long time, so I did not have that courage, and I did go the texting route. I did Instagram message her, and we started talking from there. And after that, it blossomed into what it is today, which is a really, like you said, a complementary relationship. We both know each other's wants and needs, and we're at the end of the day, we're in love with each other. I think that's the most important basis of any relationship, I would hope. So it's not it's that's it. That's really the goal for it. So it's a great relationship. It really is.
And kind of from that point, especially how when you have two people like this who push each other for the best, where it's gotten you to be like at the Friars Club now, tell me what that first moment was like when you got the job offer.
Yeah. Yes. So, going back to me and Francesca for a second, we both started our jobs, which went into our careers at the same week. We both started like around the same day. She started in education, and I started here in January of 2016. We were new to the relationship with each other, and we were able to now be new to our careers with each other. So immediately, that was just another added bonus that we were in this together. We were in these new challenges together. We weren't in jobs for 5, 10, 15 years that, we know our daily routines. We were now, deep into the water zone, and we're going to get each other, above level. But the Friars it's incredible. I love it here, and I'm so glad that I've been here for 5 years. I started as an intern. I started as a guy who got back from working at Disney. I did the Disney College program in California. I did it in Florida too.
Oh, wow.
It's something I recommend for any young person who has a chance for it. It will grow you as a person. It is a complete change from what you're used to in your normal day life, and it will totally throw you for a loop in the beginning, but you will notice that it is a great experience. So I highly, highly recommend that to people who are kind of searching and soul searching, or just going about their daily life and want to get a little bit of a change. So I interviewed here, and I met with some people, and I was able to start as kind of an intern. I knew the film industry well. I knew the entertainment industry well. And that helped me because the club does events and has a roster of, big name celebrities and people in the entertainment industry. And it went every 3 months, everything escalated very, very quickly. I went from intern to admin assistant to, membership director to, assistant general manager to this, that. It just escalated so quickly. And every 3 months, it seemed like something was changing. And I think the one thing that I noticed, obviously, about change is I think people expect change to be negative, but they expect, what it is. It's not about negative or positive. It's about the unknown, right? You don't know what's going to happen when something changes. And for me, it was positive, and it became to where I am today, which is, the senior most person at the club.
And going from that too, like when you got yourself to that senior moment, now, of course, it takes drive, it takes determination to believe in yourself and get to that point in your life. Now, an interesting perspective on this too. Did you feel like in your honest world of worlds that you would be able to get to this position as a general
No,
manager?
absolutely not. My childhood, my teenage years, my professional work before this was rooted in what will get me to become a director or become a writer or become an actor. That was always my goal. It was always in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, well, this could be a temporary job, right? I worked at a shoe store. I worked at the Disney store. I worked at this. I worked at that. these will be temporary jobs. Sooner or later, I'm going to move out to California and I'm going to start as, I'm going to be famous. I love film so much. I have to be able to do this. And it actually grew. In the beginning, in the beginning years, I wanted to be an actor. Then the years went on and I wanted to be like a director, which I still love. And I would still leave this call immediately to become a director if somebody called me, I'm sorry to say. But, and then it became like, I want to just write, and I saw that all of those changes really started to happen when I really worked here, because I saw how much I liked this job and this experience. So it kind of molded me to accept this fate. And that fate was not what I had planned originally at all. Not one single iota did I
Wow.
have.
Absolutely. And kind of to go to the point of being a general manager now, what was it like to keep yourself and other people happy in a pandemic?
It's a great question. So I think like most clubs and most basically any business, most businesses, the club was closed. We closed like January, February. We actually had a bad leak and I was only general manager for a short time. And the club had this, or I wasn't even general manager. I don't remember, but we had this severe leak, and it forced us to renovate and to restore and do insurance and all that. 2 months later, the pandemic hits, and so we were already kind of closed anyway. But now you've got members to answer to, you've got members to talk to, you've got staff to kind of to work with, and you've got this pandemic to manage. Our club has over 500 members. So I'm the one who talks to them on an email correspondence or on the phone daily. And when's the club going to open? And when's this? And when's that? So it's a wiring act. It really is. You've got to be confident. Confidence plays a huge role in almost any weave through it. You can get out of anything from a parking ticket to to getting fired. You can do all of those things if you have confidence in between all of that. I really, really believe that.
Glad you're confident about it. Final question on this one. What is the biggest change you want to see for yourself?
It's a great question. What is the biggest change I want to see for myself? I don't know. I think while I love what I do and I love the environment that I've built and the people I've built, I think I'm ready for kind of a new experience, whether it be not necessarily professionally, but personally. And I go back to you and doing this show. Like, I was always a person like, I want to do a podcast. I want to do a show. I want to do this. I guarantee you next week I will be making a podcast. I guarantee it, because it's just something that I'm just very reactive. Like I have so much fun doing this, and again, it's great. It's a lot of fun. But I think I do want to do something for me that I can promote. I love cooking. I would love to do something related to that. I love film. I would love to do something related to that. I don't know what rendition that kind of falls into. But I'd love to foster a new kind of project for myself and really own it. I think the one downfall of why I might not be working as a director or a producer or a writer or whatever is that I never really owned it. I never really took it upon my life to push everything else aside and really dedicate to it. And maybe because I thought it was too hard, or maybe because I thought I didn't have enough for it. But I got to own something. I think that's my big change that I want next.
I think, as a final point, the beauty of any sort of documentation is the reflection as far as where you've started in something, and to notice the little steps that you've taken along the way. Because
100%.
once you get like those little glimpses of improvement, it makes you want to do it more and more.
I agree. All right, now I'm going to turn the table on you, Jerry. That was my last question. Now I'm going to turn the tables. Okay.
Oh boy.
I start with the fact of what change is such an evident thing, right? It's inevitable. What prompts you to do a podcast, A, and B, what prompts you to do a podcast surrounding a topic like this?
I'll just be transparent. Going from fundraising to teaching within a 9-year glimpse of making that happen, and then just changing from gear A to gear B amid a pandemic, I felt like it was important to showcase an essence of mental health, not only for myself, but then for to have people kind of like understand themselves in going through something, whether the impact was like positive or negative. I wanted to see how we could share ourselves to the internet and to people who want to listen and maybe feel motivated to make changes for who they are. So I just feel like the messaging from my end is as simple as possible. And if you notice something with the two sides of the brain that I have
Yeah,
like on my background, I think it's super important to have both sides working with each other, because when they do have that level of confrontation, I truly believe and confident that you get your best results that way.
I agree completely. Well said. It's like somebody asked you that question before. I mean, I had all the questions beforehand, but you get these questions. You're like, you're answering, you knock it out of the park. What's the matter with you?
Much
And
appreciated.
you started it. Did you start it during the pandemic? Did you start it around there, or was it before?
I thought of it at the end of November and started the
Mhm.
Instagram in December. So as far as the first podcast episode, we only started in like January
January of what, this year?
this year.
So you're just, and we're in March, and I'm like, wait a second, 32 episodes. That means he's doing this 32 weeks by now. But
I
no, you're doing like 2, 3 a week.
Yeah, there's been a
Wow.
few times like throughout the week I would do like up to 5 episodes a week.
Yeah.
It's just unreal. It's
Listen,
unreal when people like show me their podcast and they do things like on a weekly basis. And then it gets interesting, like when you do something like almost every day at this point, even just on the sense of like posting social media, it just gets super interesting after a while, because then it's like, do you get tired of it or do you want to still talk to more people? And so
right.
far, I've never been tired of this.
You're really killing it. I love it. I look forward to every episode that you do, and that's, that's really all I can say. I thank you very, very much.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say this much. This does conclude episode 32 for the Change Within podcast. For those who want to check us out but haven't yet, please do so on Anchor, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Anthony, thank you very much for joining me today, and have a
You
great
know what
rest.
you should do? No, wait, Jerry, wait, I'm not
Oh
done. I
boy.
have a
Oh boy.
suggestion.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I have a suggestion. I have a suggestion. I think at the end of each episode, you should be like a clerk at a store, and you should go, "Here's your change." I think that would be a fitting way to end every episode.
Hey, look. This platform speaks for itself right here. You never know what can change about my podcast, right?
That's right. That's right. Jerry, thank you very, very much. Keep going, keep swinging. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your night, Anthony.
Thank you.